on our channel today. Okay, so as promised, we're bringing to us levels of literary analysis. Yes, and without much ado, I want to say thank you for uh, your responses and your, comments on our previous video. Please, if you're yet to subscribe, please do. Okay, I don't need to tell you to do now. So let's get to this, right? Good. For papers 2 and papers 3, back to it, right? There is nothing they're going to ask you that will fall outside these levels. When you read a text, you pick any literary text, I bet you, before you can tell yourself you're done with that text, be sure, be very sure, you can confirm that you can take these levels on that particular text exhaustively. Because in literature, you tend to see questions like copiously, okay, critically discuss, write extensively on. So I want us to give this attention. So number 1, writer's background. I'll tell you why you need to study that. It is important that we study writer's background. For texts like The Second Class Citizen by Buche Mecheta, it is important that we know that the writer's background in a way influenced that text. Not so far from her experience. It's the experience of Ada in the text. If you are yet to study that text, you may not understand what I'm saying. So, they might ask questions like, how has the writer's background influenced the plot of the play? So, if you've not studied, you may not be able to answer that question. You get what I'm trying to say now, right? Good. So, that is why it is important to study the background of the writer. And by the way, nobody writes in a vacuum. Nobody just sits down and then from nowhere the story. No. The stories, we have what we call sources. Okay, something inspires it. Okay, for instance, I've never traveled to, let's say, Yugoslavia. How do you expect me to write on Yugoslavia? Little wonder Joseph Conrad wrote about Heart of Darkness, talking about Africa, and wrote wrongly. Okay, now picturing Africa, negatively. Okay, but then, and that the text is Heart of Darkness. Now, the thing is, if you realize that a writer has never been somewhere, okay, you don't expect a writer's piece or work to come outside the environment they are familiar with. When I say familiar, it could be through research. At least you would know the writer. How would you know a writer actually had a research on something if you didn't study the writer? I hope you get that now. So when you read any text, know something, know the background of that writer. So now, do you know anything about Wole Soyinka? Do you know anything about Maya Angelou? Do you know anything about Emily Bronte and the likes? Do you know anything about Leopold Sédar? Okay, so if you do not know, if you're faced with one of the questions asking the relativism of the writer's background to the text, is usually to the plot, because that means how has the life of that person or the background of that person been reflected in the text? Simple. So that's done. Number 1 is done. Number 2, form, stroke type. What do you mean by form? When you read a text, you ask yourself, what type of text is this? Now, is it a play? Is it a prose? Is it a poem? That's not all. When you know it's a poem, yes, what type of poem is it? Is it a free verse? Is it a blank verse? Is it a dirge? Is it lullaby? Is it panegyric? Is it ode? Is it ballad? Is it the likes? What form? What type is it? Now you've come to know it's a play. So you ask yourself, is it drama? Okay. Now, what type of drama is it? Okay. Is it comedy? Is it tragedy? Is it tragicomedy? Is it melodrama? Is it satire? Is it what exactly is it? Okay. So that is why it's very important for us to do what? To state the type or the form. Is that clear? Now, you've come to know it's a prose. Beautiful. Is it fiction? Is it non-fiction? Okay, you come to know it's fiction. Which other fiction, like what form of fiction has it taken? Is it fable? Is it allegory? Okay, is it a novel? Is it what exactly is it? If it's non-fiction, okay, is it a memoir? Is it a diary? Is it an autobiography, which comes to something like that? So they tell you justify the text as an autobiography. What would you say? Now, or they tell you comment on the text as a satire. They're talking about the form. You see it. So these questions, if you've been combing through pages of past questions, you should by now know. You should be getting exactly what I'm trying to say. Now the thing is, don't think these things are magical. No. Yes, it has to do with some years of training and research, okay, to get this. But then you could get that too. Okay, so let's get to it. Okay, so I hope that's clear. Okay, so if they tell you justify the text as a ballad, what is a ballad? Then what are the features of a ballad that you can now bring out from that text and expatiate? That's what you have to do. Is that clear? Okay, and then number 2 done, number 3 next. Structure. Okay, you've come to know. Okay, it's whatever. It's melodrama. It's lampoon or whatever it is. Now, what's the structure? It's a tragedy. For instance, Shakespeare's work, they don't exceed 5 acts. Shakespeare would never write any work, any drama text that goes beyond 5 acts. They are all written in 5 acts. Now, if you are asked to justify a text as being Shakespearean, nobody asked that question anyway in papers 2 and 3. I'm just giving us an example. Okay, the structure. When you are asked a question on a text, it is very good that you comment on the structure, especially poetry. Okay, it's a sonnet. Justify the fact that it's a sonnet. It is written in, okay, even if it's a sonnet, what type of sonnet? Is it Shakespearean sonnet? Is it Petrarchan sonnet? Shakespearean sonnet would ordinarily have, excuse me, 3 quatrains and a couplet. 3 quatrains, that is, a quatrain is 4 lines. So Shakespearean sonnet would ordinarily have 3 stanzas of 4, 4, 4. Then the fourth stanza, which is the last one, will be 2 lines. Couplet. And not just any couplet, heroic couplet. Because the last 2 lines must have the same rhyme. And that is why the Shakespearean sonnet has the rhyme scheme A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F, G, G. So if you are affirming that a particular poem is Shakespearean, you need to write all these things. It is not just about having 14 lines, which is still part of the structure. You don't go further to say it was actually also written in what? In 3 quatrains, and the stanza 1 has 4 lines, stanza 2 has 4 lines, stanza 3 has 4 lines, and stanza 4 has 2 lines. Then you talk about the rhyme scheme. And if it's Petrarchan sonnet, then you want to say it is written in an octave and a sestet. What's an octave? A poem of 8 lines. Okay, so octave, 8 lines, sestet, the next stanza, 6 lines. Put them together, 14. But that's not all. The octave is expected to have asked a question that the sixth line after would resolve. Okay, so like that. Okay, that's structure. I don't know if that's clear. Okay, even if you say, okay, uh, let's go to play. If you have to justify a text as being tragic, what are the features of tragedy that you can actually point out from the text? That's a structure. All right. So it's expected that a tragic hero should be of noble birth. That is class. These are classical, okay, features of tragedy. Now the tragic hero should be of what? Royal birth. That is, should be from a royal family, and should be loved by the people. Should perform Herculean task. That is, you perform a heroic, act, and then should have um, a tragic flaw, okay, uh, which most cases we call hubris, okay, Hubris, okay, and whoever the tragic hero that has the hubris is also always called hubrid, okay, good. So let us get that, okay. So when you see the hubris is always usually not always. Okay? Usually does not mean all the time. Pride, anger, sticking to something you know tenaciously. You don't want to let go on a particular principle, which could eventually bring down that um, hero and make the hero tragic. Okay? So when the hero falls, that makes the people to feel for him like he didn't know it was going to cost him his fall. He was doing that maybe for the people, maybe for whatever. Okay, so I don't know if that's clear, but I actually hope it's clear. Okay, so let's go to plot there or summary. Some people will say plot summary. That's tautological. Okay, plot is plot, summary, summary. So plot or summary. I want to disagree first by saying plot or summary is not the same as synopsis. No, 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 no. Synopsis is not actually plot. Plot is more to um, prose and drama. Okay? Plot is more to what? Prose and drama. Summary is to poem. In For poetry, you just take the poem and say the poem is talking about this general overview. Okay? Summary. Plot. It is step by step analysis of a text. What happened in Act 1, Scene 1, must be spoken of before what happened in Act 1, Scene 2. I don't know if you get me. You talk about A before B, before C, before D. But if in the text was written from D before C, before A, before B, you have to bring in your summary in quote that way. That is why we define plot as chronological sequence of events. Chronological, sequential, serial, like from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. So don't skip events. Don't skip them. Follow them one after the other. So if you're asked to analyze or do a plot summary of a text, anyone they could say, give a detailed plot of any text. That's it. I don't know if you get me. So the thing is, you are to present it the way the text is. Don't start from when Lakule um, got angry that CD was talking to Baroka. No. Okay. Don't start from when Sadiku approached CD. No. Where the opening of the text, what as the text opened with, you are to open with that too. I don't know if that's clear. So don't forget, plot is peculiar to drama and prose. Summary is peculiar to poetry. But before I leave, what is the difference between drama and play? Drama is a performance. Play is a script. When it is scripted, it is a play. When it is performed, it is drama. So that is why you don't say play text, you say play. In the play, the character did this. But in the drama text, that is the drama book text. Okay? I don't know if that is clear. Good. So a play is written to be acted. A drama is the performance of a play. So that same play, Wole Soyinka's The Lion and the Jewel, could be, it's a play when you have it handy. It is drama when it's acted. Thank you. So when you're doing that, please take note. Also, let me say this about the titles. When you're asked question, when you're answering any question on a play or on prose, please underline the titles. Underline title of play and prose. Put the title of poem in what? Quotation mark. Quote it. Is that clear? I think that will do. Let's come back to this. Theme. What do you mean by theme? Issues raised, issues discussed, issues addressed in a text. We can therefore say, for instance, in the text, Lion and the Jewel by Wole Soyinka, you can say, we have the theme of generational conflict. Bale Baroka being someone, and Sadiku belonging to the old generation, Lakunle belonging to the new generation, okay, as well as CD, okay. Now, why am I going to say that? CD in a way is of the new generation, because if not for that, she wouldn't be holding to her right to choose to marry a man or not. At a time when in the older generation, women don't have choice than to just yes it, okay? Sadiku, on her own ground now, she was still sticking to the older generation of belief. What do I mean? She was still the Alarina, the intermediary between Bale Baroka and CD, okay, which is something about the old Yoruba tradition when it comes to marriage. Yoruba people don't go directly. A man cannot go to a woman he's interested in. No, you need to pass through an intermediary. Someone must talk to the lady on your behalf, okay, and sticking to that. But look at the new generation. Lakunle approached CD directly. CD spoke to him directly. So that's why CD is in the in-between. I don't know if you get me. So, and you could talk about older generations sticking to the process, the bride price and all of that. New generation, Lakunle, saying bride price is rubbish, is barbaric, is archaic and the likes. I don't know if you get me. So that's a theme. Okay? Issues that were raised. And there's another theme, the theme of culture. The text is rich in the culture and traditions of the Yoruba people. The culture of marriage, okay, how marriage should be done, how it should be approached. CD was sticking and upholding that culture seriously, and that frustrated the person of Lakunle, the teacher. I don't know if you get me. Now, like I said earlier, Baroka, Sadiku, all these persons were sticking to tradition. How they could ask you to discuss some thematic preoccupations. Forget about the grammar. It's still talking about the themes that occupied the text. Okay? The thematic preoccupation of the text, whether a play, whether a prose, whether it's a poem. the theme cuts across the three genres. Okay, so I hope that's clear enough. Then let's go to setting. Setting. Now, for setting, we're talking about the background. Okay, this is my setting right now. More like, okay, that's my setting, my background. Okay, now some other persons, the setting you see will be maybe a whiteboard, no, what's it called? An interactive board. Okay, it's awesome. Some other persons will have television as their background. Some other person will have a backdrop. Okay, background. So let's come from that area, right? Now, if I am the event in that text, around what? What is the background of the event that is setting? So, setting has types. When you write, you're writing based on a number of things. One is the time, the period or era. That's still talking about time, which we call temporal setting. Temporal setting. That is talking about the time of event. So is it postmodernism? Is it pre-colonial? Okay. Is it at the time of harsh racism? Okay. Like that. Is it a classical text setting? All right. Time. Okay. Is it in the morning? Is it noon? Is it night? Okay. I don't know if you get me. So that's temporal setting. Then the other one we look at is spatial setting. Spatial, talking about the place. All right. So, is it in Nigeria? Is it in Africa? Is it setting in Lagos? Okay. Like we have for some text. Okay. Ilujinle. Ilujinle does not actually even, so to speak, exist. It's Yoruba name, yes. So what is the setting? Ilujinle. But where? The Yoruba people. Okay, special setting. That is for Lion and the Jewel. I don't know if you get me. So I hope that's clear enough. Now, if you're asked the impact of the setting on the text, it's because it is Ilujinle. That is why there is there's this strict treatment of culture. Ilujinle. If you know the meaning of Ilujinle, it tells you even how that name itself has influenced the event woven around it. Now, Ilujinle more like a place or a people that are deep, culturally deep. You get it? Now, away from that, you wouldn't have set that text in the United States and people will be sticking to bride price. I don't know if you get me. So the text, the spatial setting has to a great extent influenced the event around it. If it was set in the United States and someone is asking for bride price, that person will be the unconventional one. I don't know if you get me. Asking for bride price in the United States will make you unconventional, will make you a deviationist. But asking for bride price in Africa, Ilujinle, Yoruba, more importantly, makes you a conformist. So you are conforming to the tradition, but that tradition is not in the United States. Has that helped you? Okay, good. So let's go. Other things we could have also occupational setting. Now, when you look at text from the Niger Delta in Nigeria, they tend to have their base, the occupation of people most times are fishing and farming. I don't know if you get me. Now, that helps the writer to put forth, okay, um, the event around the people. You cannot be writing about Niger Delta where they have, they are mostly riverine areas, and then you're talking about, uh, I don't know what actually what you want to talk about, other than relating it to the reality of the people. Okay? Okay. So that being it, um, I hope setting is clear. Occupational setting, other types, other proliferations can come in, but then that's majorly we have temporal setting and spatial setting. Okay, so narrative technique. Mhm. Narrative technique is to prose. Dramatic technique is to drama.